there. Okay? Now bring YouTube.
Now bring. Well, isn't YouTube? Okay, hold on.
YouTube.
Isn't that YouTube? Yeah.
You see the button already appeared here.
Ooh.
Okay. Here.
And I
slide.
see it. I'm gonna hit that end stream and then.
No, when you finish.
When I finish, yeah.
Yeah. Now you can move this. I don't know where you're gonna put it.
I'm gonna put it over on my other monitor.
The same as OBS.
Yes.
We're done now.
Yes. Let me bring that there.
There are 3 people already there.
Okay. Very good. Let me bring over.
Can you read their names?
Actually, hold on. Okay, dude, I just want to be able to see where. So, honey, you see 3 people there, and I'm trying to see where.
It doesn't matter. You don't want to see one. Just continue. Forget about that. You can continue.
Are we live stream?
Yeah.
We're on. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Rico and Rico show, starring Mike Pavani and myself, Wayne Carlisi. I'm waiting for Rico. Want to explain the Rico? I don't know where he is. Hey, come in. Hey, there he is.
Hey, Rico.
There he is.
Hey, I took care of that thing for you. Here.
You took care of that.
I got you this.
Oh, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
You're a good guy. You're a good guy.
Hey, you know.
How much do I owe you for this?
Later.
Okay.
We'll talk about it later.
We're just playing, you guys. There's Rico with the sunglasses on. We started calling each other Rico about how many years ago was that?
God. 3-4 years ago.
3 or 4 years ago?
Something like that, yeah.
Or, no, it's more than that. I think it was 10 years ago.
Oh, okay.
You're getting old.
You know, when you get old, your memory starts going.
Unlike me, who never gets old.
Sharp.
Yeah. Sharp as... Anyway. Hello, you guys. Animator, hello, buddy. Teffic's my student.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
Cool.
Very talented young man. Very talented
a lot of talented
young man. Let's see who else. Sorry, guys. I gotta... Hello, Mr. Creative World. There we go. So, Rico, what should we talk about in Animate? You guys have any questions? That's what we're here for. We're here as a talk show, entertainment.
It's kind of like sitting in the living room and just talking about animation.
Yeah, animation and
any questions or anything.
The industry, art, whatever you want. Let's see. Daniela. Hello, Daniela. How are you? Danielle, she was very loyal. She was for her first live stream with me and Judy.
Wow.
And
Ron Animation from Ecuador.
Oh, hello, Ron.
That's Judy you hear, by the way.
Oh, that is...
Oh, yeah, that's Judy. Oh, from Ecuador. Felicidades, Ron Animation. Yo hablo español también. Bienvenido al grupo.
¿Cómo? Yeah, Judy, you didn't know I knew Spanish, did you?
I'm talking to Ron Animation.
I know Spanish. You want to hear my Spanish?
Sure.
Choco Crispies de Kellogg's es el gran sabor a chocolate. How about that, huh? Not too shabby, eh?
Here, draw something on there.
Draw something?
Yeah.
I gotta see.
Oh.
Draw something. Like what?
Whatever.
Well, you know, one of the subjects I wanted to talk about was animation classroom attendance. You know how the classroom starts out with 25 people?
Yeah.
And then you get 3 people at the end?
Oh, yeah. I was talking about that with I was helping Dave out and talking about how when we would start off, we all went to art school back in 82?
83.
83. And there'd start off to be 25 of us in the class, and then there would always be like 5 of us
Every time.
at the very end. And all 5 of those people, well, some of them went to Cal Arts, right?
Yeah.
Like 3 of them did. But everyone that finished the class would end up, they all made it in the business. So that's just to tell you guys that it's about perseverance, tenacity, and just don't give up. Let's see. Who else we got up here? That
You
was
have some questions too.
we got a lot in Spanish, honey.
Yeah, that's Roman.
Rajesh is there.
Hablas inglés. ¿Inglés? Oh, I thought you were going to say Spanish. Gracias, aprecio mucho el arte de ustedes. He said that he liked our arts, though. He appreciated it a lot.
Oh, he appreciates the what, honey?
The art.
Oh,
arts.
very good. And then
Our art, he said.
our art. Thank you. And there's Rajesh. He's what?
Oh,
Rajesh.
Argentina. Oh, we have a lot of Spanish speakers here.
Good.
Did they hear my Spanish?
Huh? Yeah, it must have been your Spanish. It was Mike's Spanish that just
That's what
sold
did it.
everybody. Yeah.
It's so authentic with the accent.
Muy bien. Rajesh, what time is it in India? If you could write.
Wait, I think that you are out of camera.
Oh, sorry. That's
Most
the
of the time. You're
that-
most of the time out of the camera.
that's the hard part. I can't read
The shot.
the chat when maybe I should I'm going to be out of camera for 1 second, Jude. Oh no, I don't want to.
Okay.
I don't want to touch the computer. It gets a little
No,
faulty.
don't.
Very good. Very good.
Finito.
Finito. So, do you guys have any tips for animation practice and any tips for beginners? Definitely. What would your first tip be, Rico?
Boy, if I could go back in time and tell myself something like that, I would say, get the Preston Blair book and look through the whole thing and do every one of those exercises that are in there and just try to do it yourself, like whether it's a walk or anticipation and overshooting and a settle, that kind of stuff. Squash and stretch, overlap, follow through. all
I
those.
agree. Just do all those principles. Draw all the time.
Yeah.
If you want to do traditional animation, just draw all the time. And there's so many good books out there.
Oh, yeah.
Am I?
Now there is.
Yes.
Back then there's like
Back
two.
then there wasn't, but get the Richard Williams book, Animator Survival Kit. I really like the Eric Goldberg book.
That's a great one, yeah.
Yeah,
Really good.
those are my 2 favorites. But just draw the time and practice those principles, those 12 principles. Very important.
In fact, the top 3 books I'd say, Richard Williams, Eric Goldberg, and Preston Blair. Between the 3 of those, I think it covers everything.
Yeah.
Because Richard Williams' book doesn't really cover roughs that much, but Preston Blair does.
Mm-hmm.
So when you put it together, you've got everything.
That's true.
And
Illusion of Life too.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
got a lot of good stuff.
Illusion of Life has good stuff in it, as far as
Animations.
a lot of beautiful visual candy there.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And just practice all the time. It's like I always liken animation to learning a musical instrument. The more you practice, the faster you're going to get better.
Exactly. It's like anything.
Yeah.
It's in sports, anything you do,
Yeah.
just draw all the time.
Oh, and another thing about drawing, I know a lot of people say you got to carry a sketchbook with you all the time religiously. You got to have it. I'm like, I tried to carry a sketchbook with me, but I just couldn't get in the habit. Still to this day, I don't like drawing in sketchbooks because I get this weird mental thing like, oh, if I put it in here, it's like it's going to be in there forever, and I don't want the bad drawings to be in there. So I just draw on separate sheets of paper, and if I don't like them, I toss them, and I keep the ones I do like.
Yeah, whatever. As long as you're drawing. If you're drawing, well, I think a sketchbook's good.
I do too. I'm just saying
always
for
tear
me.
it out.
Yeah, for me. Well, some of you can't tear the pages out.
The what?
Some of them you can't tear the pages out. They're like it's like a book.
What kind of sketchbook is that?
Oh, good. If I had one here, I'd show you.
I know what you're talking
Yeah,
about.
most of them tear out now.
Let's see what else we got up here.
Oh, look at that in India. It's just also a lot of people from India. They say it's 10 past 11 p.m. in India.
Oh, okay. Oh, wow.
Ouch.
It's late.
Wow, people. Thank you so much for coming,
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
And if you have any questions, ask them now before it gets too late.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah. Yeah.
I think that you should have another live stream, I think earlier for people from India because really there's a lot of people from India.
There is a lot of people from India. Maybe we will. We'll try to figure this out where we can do it earlier. Wow.
Yeah, drawing practice is really essential because, if you want to do hand-drawn animation, obviously for CG, it doesn't apply as much because the computer models already have the model done and they already have the volumes figured out, so you don't have to worry so much about that, obviously. But it does still come in handy for thumbnailing a lot when you want to figure out your performance.
Absolutely. And you still got to know those 12 principles. Someone wrote in... They wrote about the Richard Williams book being so thick and dense, and it is. It's a lot of information in there. So I would go first with Preston Blair, then Eric Goldberg, and The Illusion of Life. Mainly the animation sections in The Illusion, don't you think?
Yeah, and the way that they're presented, each one of those, the Preston Blair is the easiest to assimilate for beginners, and then the Eric Goldberg is a little bit easier to assimilate after you've looked at that one, and then so on to Richard Williams, like you said. So
It's just Richard Williams. He covers every aspect of it.
It can be overwhelming for beginners. Yeah,
Yes.
I wouldn't recommend that one.
Another good thing, like Mike's drawing right here, notice how he's drawing loose, but we get the personality of the character in the Richard Williams book. He talks about animating clean, and also if you're animating on paper, he talks about animating with the pegs on top, meaning if you got your disc, and here's the pegs there, and the pegs here, and there's all the pegs, and the paper goes up on top there, that isn't really the standard way. The standard way is where you put the paper on the bottom pegs and you flip and roll them. I hope that makes sense if you decide to do it on paper. So that can be a little...
Now, in the olden days, and like the Warner Brothers days, and I think maybe even the Fleischer days, they used to animate on top pegs all the time.
They did.
That was the standard early on. I don't know why. I guess because, like Richard says, it's easier to just grab a stack and then flip them like this, and they fall down from the top pegs so you can see, instead of trying to take it off and then,
Absolutely, but what they realized, but the bottom pegs is good because you learn how to roll your drawings.
You can do more at a time, yeah.
You can do really, like, how many is that? 5 drawings?
5 sheets, yeah.
5 sheets, and you can roll it and you can see the motion better than going like this and then flipping it.
Yeah, maximum, I think, top flipping, you can do like 3 sheets at a time, maximum.
Yeah. Well, what percentage of animators do you think top peg?
Very, very little. Small percentage, because it's really awkward to flip. That's why.
Yes. So
and that's why the Disney veterans did it for 75 years. They did on bottom pegs.
And then that's why everyone converted to doing the bottom pegs for the most part.
Yeah.
That's Richard Williams was a brilliant animator. So
I don't take anything away from him.
Yeah. But also he talks about animating clean. The guy was an incredible draftsman. If you need to animate a character doing this very quickly just to get the action, I recommend that for beginner animators.
Absolutely. In fact, that's a tough discipline to stick to.
Yeah, because everyone wants to draw clean. You're going to get better and better at drawing as time goes on. In the beginning, you want to just get the acting and the action to work.
The performance first.
The performance.
As far as overall body language and gestures and attitudes and all that.
And working loose will help you get the performance in the beginning. Also, let's talk about straight ahead versus post pose.
That's a good
I
one.
think I wanna, guys. I think there's some questions.
Oh,
I'm
okay.
gonna, I'm gonna pick. I don't know if you answer this question from. Let's see. What is it? Let me see. I think he said something like, "What was your first day class?" or something like that.
Let, let me see if I
Trying
can
to,
find
trying
it.
to look for it. Oh, here. This is from Mr. Creative World. Sir, how your first day of animation industry experience? That's what I want to say.
What was our first day of the animation
Yeah,
experience?
industry experience.
Oh,
What was the first day like of your first day in the industry? What was your experience like?
I was scared stiff. How are you?
Still am. Hey, I gotta tell you, after all these years, I keep thinking that when I start a new job, I'll be more relaxed. You're just a nervous wreck because you want to do the very best that you can do, and it's always been like that. So you're always,
Yeah, and
highly concerned.
And you try to relax. I mean, I was really nervous, but the thing is, you're also getting used to that particular director, supervising animator, and that company, the way that they operate, and they're all a little bit different. But it only takes, I think, it matters what the company is, but
Yeah, I don't know. I guess
3 weeks,
generally
4
speaking, if it takes couple of weeks to get comfortable,
Yeah.
at least, yeah.
Yeah.
But there's a whole production flow. The way that each company does their production flow, the way all the scenes work through the system is a little bit different. Especially nowadays, they have different softwares that they use, to exchange files, whether you're working remotely or whether you're working in the studio. They have certain procedures, and they have organization boards where they check off scenes and stuff. There's all kinds of methods.
That's a real good point that Rico brings up, because nowadays you can work at home. You're not in a studio.
Right, so it's a little less nerve-wracking, but still.
Yeah, but then you're... Go ahead, hon. Judy? Oh, I thought Judy said something.
You remember at Simpsons movie, your desk was right next to the board that
Sorry,
they check off the scenes. Remember, they'd keep
Oh,
a
yeah.
record. It was like a schedule, and they check off each scene as it was finished down the pipeline. And you used to see that thing every day. I bet that wasn't nerve-wracking, was it?
Yeah, you'd see, what was delayed, what was working, who was behind.
And it's Murphy's Law. Whatever can go wrong will go wrong. So you have to factor in, if you're in production, to anticipate all kinds of problems that are unexpected. So.
But I will say the one thing: as you're in the industry more years, it's a small world. So you're gonna be like Mike and I. We worked at Bear Animation together. We worked at Disney together. We worked at Turner, Nickelodeon, and Fox.
Oh yeah, Simpsons. That's right.
Simpsons. Yeah.
I keep forgetting because the company changed names. First it was Film Roman, then it changed to I think Stars Media or something, and then it changed to Fox, and now Disney owns Fox. It's like wow, all this stuff changes over the years.
Oh, is it owned by Disney?
Oh, they bought everything. Disney owns almost everything now.
They do. They own
the
world.
Blue Sky. They just shut down Blue Sky. Oh, the list goes on and on.
Man. Let's see. I'm gonna go read some questions.
Business, Rico, business. Hey.
It is business. Creative sir, my biggest problem is pose to pose.
He's reading the questions, right?
I think that you answered this from Apprendi Gaster. He said, yeah, you're talking about do you guys have any tips for animation practice and tips for beginners? You answered that already, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, but if I could get a little more specific, as far as animation practice, I highly recommend, and I do this to all the students I've ever taught, I always recommend starting on paper and pencil, flipping the paper. And the reason why is because a lot of people say, oh, but I can't draw. I don't want to do it that way. I just want to go straight into the computer. It's like, yeah, I understand. But from my experience, when you force yourself to animate on paper and you flip the paper, you are so intimately involved with creating every little movement in every part of the character for every frame or every drawing that you do, that you learn animation so thoroughly and inside out and upside down and backwards and forwards, that when you go to animate a computer, it's much, much easier because you've intimately got in there and, with your fingertips and had to adjust things.
I think I agree with that too. Yeah,
At least that.
It does really push you. And the thing is, you got to learn how, which we have on the channel, how to roll your drawings. And it doesn't take long, you guys. When you got your drawings on the disc and you learn how to do that motion of flipping. Here, hold that, Rico.
Also, another good point to start on paper like that is you can simplify the character, like Wayne drew that simplified version there when you just do gestural drawings. Super, super basic forms and shapes. That's the way to start out because it's easy to draw that. It's almost like a stick figure. In fact, James Baxter does that all the time. He draws like a stick figure type of
Oh, he does?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. It's really, really simple.
Hold it
sketchy.
right about there. Thank you, dude. Real quick, I just want to show you guys. This is, you put the drawings, and we got a video on it. You put it in between your fingers, and I know that it looks intimidating in the beginning, but you learn to roll your drawings like so. We'll get into that later, but this is how you want to learn how to roll the drawings, and then as Mike says, and that's why it's bottom pegged, because if it's top pegged, you can't do that.
You can't roll upside down.
Yeah, you can't roll upside down.
You can flip, but you can't roll.
And as Mike said, the thing about it is that it does seem to push you more so. But I don't know if we're just old and saying this.
No. I've seen, people, the students I've had in the past that they try that. They start out that way. They're just a lot more. How should I put it? They're more versed. They're better versed when they go to animate because they've forced themselves to get so detail oriented about how they're manipulating the characters when they roll like that. Drawing to drawing, rather than. And another thing is you can see those 5 drawings really clearly because you can top light them. You don't have to use an onion skin all the time.
Right.
So
right.
It's actually, it clarifies the image and the gesture and the silhouette better.
You can see those big shapes moving.
Yeah, I recommend it. I've seen people excel better when they start off that way rather than just drawing, jumping into the computer program.
So we had one question here talking about pose to pose
versus straight ahead.
I can't. Yeah, pose to pose versus straight ahead.
That's the question.
How do you like to animate, Rico?
I like to animate straight ahead, but I found that when you just animate straight ahead, volumes and things can get out of control and things evolve, and then you can look back at the scene and go, "Whoa, I'm way off now," because it just evolves, and there's no control. And so pose to pose is much better as far as controlling things, like the volumes and the attitudes and the exact thing you're trying to do, rather than straight ahead through it. But I found the optimum way is what Richard Williams says, I believe he mentions it, is the fusion of the two, where you're posing it, but you're thinking straight ahead. So you're kind of using both at the same time. That's the best. That's the best I've ever used.
And I do think in the beginning, if you do work straight ahead, if you feel like your animation is stiff and it just doesn't have that life in it, straight ahead, as you're going straight ahead, you're going to feel those drawings as you're animating straight ahead. You're going to feel the anticipations, the drag, the follow through, stretch and squash. You're going to feel them. And then I think to make the change over, I work mostly pose to pose, but it's just like what Mike said. And then if I find a section that's not working, I'll just, I mostly work digital now, but I always go like this. I'll roll it and work that section until it works correctly.
And I should point out a couple of things. One thing is that if when you're starting out and you animate straight ahead and you just can't, it's just not comfortable for you to animate pose to pose, I would go with straight ahead, and vice versa. If you animate straight ahead and you go, this is uncomfortable, I want to do a pose to pose, I would do that. It's all up to the individual, what's easiest for them that they can get something done.
And that's absolutely the way it is. It is a matter of you finding what works for you. Everyone's got a little bit different workflow. So the only way you're going to find out is by doing it and seeing which way. And also understand that there isn't this one set formula, I would say. I'll have a scene and it will be flowing along fine, and all of a sudden I'll get stuck in one section and I'll have to, I'll shift it to try to get the volumes, try to figure it all out, and I'll get stuck there. At the end of the day, no one knows what your workflow is. As long as the scene is working, that's the important thing.
Right. You could be drawing with your foot with a pencil and still, it's going to come out the same result. They don't know. They don't know behind the scenes.
Yeah, exactly.
Also, I wanted to elaborate on when you do fuse straight ahead and pose to pose, the method generally of how to do that is you pose it out first, and then you start to animate straight ahead from one pose to the other pose, to the next pose, the next pose. And if the pose, when you get to it, doesn't fit, out it goes, and you keep letting the flow go to the next pose.
Oh, Rico hit upon something really important there. Throw out your drawings. Don't fall in love with your drawings. If you fall in love with them, that means you're putting too much drawing into it in your first pass. I remember when I was first learning, I'd put a lot of drawing into it, and I hated the idea that I had to scrap it.
Yeah.
But it just wasn't working in the scene, and that's why in the beginning we recommend you work loose so you don't fall in love with your drawings, because after you make your second pass over your drawings, the tie down phase, that's where you focus on drawing.
That's a big point, because if you give yourself the freedom to not sit there and labor over those first drawings, and then you want to hold on to, but it's a good drawing, I spent hours on this thing. You don't want to do that. You just want to fly through it, rough it out really simple, real quick, and then make it work that way. And then, like Wayne just said, you can go back in and start to go over those on a separate sheet or a separate layer and refine those into the really nice drawings. And then you've got a beautiful scene that flows. And it looks great.
Exactly. And also, you go over on a separate sheet of paper, or you could rub down your rough and keep it on that same drawing. That's the idea of experimenting, seeing what works for you. A lot of animators will work in red or blue when they rough it out, and then they'll hit it with graphite. It's just a matter of trial and error.
I've heard, I haven't seen it, but I've heard that Eric Goldberg animates his first pass really, really lightly, just so he can see it. And then he goes over the same drawings, boom, and then he ties it down.
Remember when I told you I knocked on his door when I was leaving?
Yeah.
He showed me a video, and he puts in a real light whisper of a line in there. He doesn't even thumbnail Eric Goldberg.
That's another issue.
Yeah.
Thumbnailing or not thumbnailing,
I say thumbnail.
Well, I have a story about that. I was working at a commercial house, and their schedules are really quick. You got to turn it around fast. You only got a short amount of time to get the commercial out. So I was sitting there thumbnailing, trying to explore this scene, get all the best poses and attitudes, while this other animator was finished with 3 scenes already. And I said, dude, how do you go so fast? He says, well, I don't waste my time thumbnailing. I just go right into it and start posing. Full size.
But that's what Eric Goldberg, I heard Wooly Reitherman also. He would just dive into it.
Like, everybody has a different approach.
Yeah.
Some people thumbnail, some don't.
Yeah.
I would try it. It definitely helps, I think. I think you're better off thumbnailing than you are not thumbnailing, if you have the time. If you don't have the time and the schedule, just dive in.
It's true. If you got some crunch time, they said we needed this yesterday. Can
you please pump this out?
Yeah. And
Just go for it.
And that will come more with experience. Realize it takes a while to understand this art form. Don't think it make it look simple
and clear.
That's the hard part. So don't get frustrated if it's like your first pass doesn't come out. Don't get frustrated.
I keep going back to learning a musical instrument, because when I was learning a musical instrument, I got so frustrated, I'd throw things, and I'd get so mad because I couldn't get it. And it was the same thing with animation. I'd snap pencils and throw them, I'd be like, why can't I get this? In fact, I don't know, did you encounter this when you first started animating? I would get this all the time. I would start I wanted to do this big long scene, right? And I'd start to animate it, and I could only go so far. And I could not visualize past that. I just had a mental block. And I just physically, mentally could not get past the first third of the scene. I could only do little chunks. I couldn't think of the whole thing and how it would unravel.
Oh, yeah. That's why I got into thumbnailing.
That was before I knew about thumbnailing.
Yeah. That
makes sense.
It just helped me. I would put down drawings that I had no idea that I would think to myself, would this relate to the scene? And I would just put it down in a very scribbly method, like that pose there. And then I'd look at it and see the corresponding key poses. I'm not saying you thumbnail all the movement and everything, just those key storytelling poses. And all scenes are different. Understand that. Some are action, others are acting. You just got to experiment.
Usually,
hold the floor, dude.
Usually
talking.
For action scenes, when you get an action scene, it's going to be straight ahead for the most part. And if it's going to be an acting scene, you don't want to go straight ahead. You want to go pose to pose, because you want to hit these certain moments that go with the dialogue or the acting, and have those locked in, and then try to work straight ahead from one to the other. But you've got to have those goalposts to get through if it's an acting scene. Another thing I wanted to cover was what was it about? Straight ahead. Oh, this always happens to me. I don't know if it happens to everybody, but it's something to be aware of, I think. Whenever you get a scene for the first time and you first look at it and you go, oh my God, your first impressions, this is really going to be hard. I don't know if I can do this. Or if your first impression is, oh, this one's going to be a piece of cake, easy. And it's always the opposite. Always for me. It's always, if I think it's going to be easy, it's like, why is this so hard? And then if I look at a hard one and go, hey, that was easy.
You'll get a scene that's only 2 feet long, and you think, oh man, I can snap this one out.
Right.
And you end up being stuck on it.
5 years later. Yeah, it's tricky. You gotta be aware of that.
Every
first impression.
Every scene should be new and a challenge.
They always are. Yes.
Yeah, which is good. That's a
are.
good thing, because it keeps it fresh. If it was the same formula over and over,
In fact, Glenn Keane mentioned in an interview, he said, if animation was easy for me, I would leave. He said it's always challenging. As long as it's challenging, he's interested in it, and he keeps his interest, and he's into it. Yeah.
I agree with that 100%.
Yeah.
All art should always look for, never think that you got the answers to everything. Explore.
Yeah. I would be careful of making the statement, I've done it, I've arrived, I can do anything.
Yeah.
I don't know about that. It takes a lifetime. I hear that all these old, ancient Chinese masters from whatever art form, painting or something, just with their last breath, they're like, I got it! And then they die.
Well, the thing is, you're always going to see your flaws. That's the thing.
Oh,
and don't
God.
beat yourself up too bad either. Just continue on.
You're your worst critic, guaranteed.
Yeah.
Guaranteed.
So just continue on. And if someone's saying, oh man, I just snapped, I don't know if I go.
I get suspicious, yeah. If it's really all that hot.
So what's your little signs of... Oh, hold on. Let me read.
got more
Someone
questions.
asked about backgrounds here. What's the best way to do your cleanup for your... Best way to do the cleanup for your animation?
There's two different methods I know of. One is I've seen people, they take their rough drawing that they do, like Eric Goldberg, if it's drawn really lightly, they clean that up, the lines up on that same drawing because they want to retain that same energy that's in that drawing. They don't want to put another sheet over it, redraw it again, and then suck the life out of it. It's like every generation away from the original, you lose it. That's why they kept all those rough sketchy drawings.
Are they talking about tie downs or cleanups?
I don't know. What's the word?
It says cleanup.
That would probably be the final line then.
The final line, it really takes a lot of time. Mike was talking. Eric Goldberg draws clean. So you know
he doesn't have to clean it up.
You know, the guy's a genius, so
yeah.
He goes over it, and when you if you had to clean up his drawing, it wouldn't be, I wouldn't imagine, too much of a challenge.
It's not too laborious, no.
Yeah.
It's pretty
but
much
the way they do it on paper is they would first put it down in blue or red, whatever the filter, that's old school, but you put it down, let's say non-photo blue. They put the drawing in there, and then they'd go back over it with graphite. But some people's dexterity, they can just put it down with one clear line, and other people like me, I have to hatch it in there.
Scratch it in. But it's got to be a clean line.
But it's a clean line, but you know, it's all one flowing line, but it's you just make sure it's continuous. And then some films have different styles of cleanup. They'll have a thick outline for the character and thin lines inside of the character.
And there's thick and thin.
What was your first Disney cleanup movie?
Oliver and Company.
Oh, it was. Okay.
Yeah. Boy, did I learn a lot on that. Whew! I went from filmation assistant work or cleanup. They like to be called assistant animators, not cleanup artists. It never bothered me personally. I didn't care. But it's assistant animation. I learned how to do that in filmation, which is radically different than doing it at Disney. So it was a huge learning curve when I.
Thank you. What is it? Oh, someone donated money. Thank you very much.
Well, thank you so much to
Dankeschön.
Arlek. Thank you so much.
Arlek, thank you very much. Appreciate that so much.
Nice. So yeah, there was a steep learning curve going to Disney from Filmation, because Filmation was like a hack house, a mash unit where you just threw it together really quick. You only had, the rule was you had to do a cleanup drawing per hour. You had to do 40 drawings at Filmation. That was the quota. So you had to do 40 drawings a week, no matter how complicated they were. If they had lots of buttons and clasps,
really?
It didn't matter. Yeah, you had to do 40 drawings a week. Every hour you had to finish a drawing. So you had to be disciplined, which was great. I learned how to be, fast and disciplined with getting the job done. But then when I got to Disney, it's like, whoa, we got to slow down a little bit here. There's a bigger learning curve because it's much more refined work and they're much more careful with the volumes and things.
Right.
Because it's not TV. Filmation was for a television screen, which is small. And Disney was for the feature screen, which is huge. When that line gets blown up, you can see things wobble.
And what was your first character you worked on?
It was Oliver, the cat.
Oh, it was?
Yeah, I always got lucky. I always got to work on like the star characters. Like I worked on Ariel and Mermaid and Oliver and Company.
Did you?
Yeah, Prince on Prince and the Pauper. It's always been like that. I don't know why. I just got lucky.
Probably because you're good.
Hey. You're embarrassing me, Rico. Hey! No.
Well,
I appreciate it, but I don't. Well, I got a lot to learn.
I had to be because you sucked.
That's the reason. Yeah, that's what I meant. No, it's a lifelong thing, man. I've been in this for a lot of decades, and I'm still learning. So it never ends, which is why Glenn is still interested.
Yeah.
It's fun.
Do know that, man. If you feel like you got it. What is that sign over there?
This one here?
Yeah.
This is my new hairdo.
COVID hair?
Yeah, that's what this is.
Oh.
That's why it's so long.
Oh, yeah, this is the longest
I've ever had it.
I've known Mike
Pretty
since
much.
1983. He's looks like a hippie from 1973.
Well, it just so happens that I brought along something for show and tell today.
Oh my God.
Yeah, I'm going to ask folks in the audience, their viewing audience, if they know what this object is. I've never seen one of these before.
Here, hold up closer to the camera.
Can everybody see that?
Yeah, look over here. You can see what they see.
See that?
Yeah.
Anybody seen one of these weird devices before?
Let's see.
It looks ancient, doesn't it? Looks like it came off the Titanic, sunk on the bottom of the ocean. It's all rusted and old. It works great. Little hand crank here, a bunch of holes in it. What that's for?
We're waiting for someone to answer.
Nobody
Let's
got
see.
an answer?
Thank you very much. Let me see. COVID hair. That is awesome. They like your hair, Rico.
This is 1 year's length.
They like your hair, Rico.
Oh, thank you.
And then it says, a sharpener.
That's right. A sharpener.
My boy Rashi, she got it. He got it. I knew you'd get it, Rashi. Rashi draws really good.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
Well, he knows what this is for sure. So it's a sharpener for pencils. You got a pencil I can put in here?
Oh, my God.
You don't have a pencil. All you got is this. This doesn't go in here. This is a stylus.
I got a pencil. I got a pencil for you.
Put a-
Soda Pop, he said,
Go ahead.
were you all trained by Glenn Keane?
What was the question again, Judy?
If you were all trained by Glenn Keane.
No, I never met the... Oh, yeah, I did meet him one day. Mike knew.
I wasn't trained
You don't
by...
remember if you met... if you met Glenn Keane, will you be able to forget that moment?
No, I met him one... I remembered I met him at a party, but I never worked with him. Mike did.
I was on his crew for assistant work on Mermaid, and I used to go up to his office and I'd
All
walk
right, I'm
in.
done with this.
Anyway, that's how it works. I'd go into his office and I'd say, "Hey, Glenn, can I just watch you work?" And he'd say, "Sure." So I'd stand there and just watch him draw on Mermaid, and I was like, "Oh, this is very interesting to see how he approaches it." You know, oh yeah, the simplicity of stuff. He was cool about it.
Really?
But everybody
Sorry,
told
Judy.
But everybody told me, you know, if you go up to his room and his door is closed, do
Yeah.
not knock on it, because that means he's really deep in thinking.
Oh, he's focused.
He's really focused and he's into the flow, and he doesn't want to be interrupted. So when I would go in there, his door was open already. So, yeah. I was on his assistant crew. I followed up his roughs, and let me tell you, talk about tying down the roughs, man. A lot of credit has to go to his key assistants. They would take his scribbles and turn them into beautiful drawings.
Yeah.
That's draftsmanship right there.
Yeah, he had some great... Our mentor, Mike and I's mentor, was Del Bear.
Yeah, big time.
He was really the one for us that we really got to learn those secrets. And now you got the Richard Williams book. So there's all those secrets. But back when Mike and I were growing up, it was hard to get information about animation. But Del Bear, he was the quiet giant of animation. You don't hear his name like Glenn Keane.
No.
And, you know, these other guys. And Glenn Keane's incredible. But Dale, he had his studio called Bear Animation, and he hired us, and it was truly a blessing for us when it came to animation, because he was a true master.
Yep.
And he animated that sequence Toontown in Roger Rabbit. That was...
He was in
completely
charge of the
his,
whole
right?
Toontown
Yeah.
sequence, yeah.
He did all of that. That's what I mean. A lot of people don't know that. They think Richard Williams did it, every bit of it, his studio. But Toontown was all done by Bear Animation.
Yep, that was like the early beginnings of it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so that's really where we had learned.
That speaks volumes that they gave him an entire sequence to direct and oversee. You know, because it was too much work for Richard Williams to do everything in the whole feature. They had to break off some of it, so they gave the whole Toontown sequence to Dale and his people. And a lot of talented people in that crew, man.
One of my favorite scenes of Dale's is where Mickey Mouse and Bugs Bunny are falling down.
Yeah.
And Dale did Mickey Mouse, and it's just beautiful. He goes up and down with the airflow
within this frame.
and and just twirling around. It's just beautiful. But he could animate. He was the lead on
Yzma.
Yzma, right? He did
Emperor's New
Yzma,
Groove.
and then the big cowboy guy.
I forgot the cowboy's name now, but I can't remember if it was Tex or something. But anyway, he was in charge of that. Was his character.
Which was sort of like a caricature of Dale.
Yeah, it was. It looked like him. And he was always a cowboy at heart. He would always wear cowboy boots and stuff, and cool belts and bolo ties and Western shirts. Yeah,
but very humble.
Which I can relate to. I'm from Arizona, so.
Because you ride horses so much.
Yeah. What is the other question?
He's trying to get rid of me.
No, I'm not trying to get rid of you. I just I know there's some people. It's 11 p.m. and I don't want them to fall asleep.
I'm going
to answer some questions.
Any video on analyzing the video, explaining keyframe and breakdown and timing.
Do you have videos like that?
Yeah, I mean, we got. I think I got like 3 videos that I've done. Don't we, Judy? Is Judy there?
They're on YouTube, right?
Yes, I'm here.
Oh, sorry, honey. Yeah.
Okay.
I was asking a question. Yes, we do have videos on keyframes, pose-to-pose animation, straight-ahead animation, and also one that is combining the two like Mike was talking about.
Yeah, we have this video.
And that is probably the biggest question. You guys don't worry so much about the pose to pose straight ahead. Just start animating.
Whatever feels good.
Yeah, just get used to animating in the very beginning.
It'll evolve.
Yeah. Mike and I also had a teacher, our buddy Leonard Robinson. He introduced what he called the Scribble Method.
Yeah?
You remember? What do you mean? Yeah.
Elaborate.
You were there, weren't you?
Elaborate, Rico. I don't know what you're talking about exactly.
Where he would do drawings. It was Leonard would do.
Get rid of that. You can start over a new screen. You don't have to draw any of that stuff.
I know. I gotta figure it out. Here we go.
There you go.
He would do drawings. I mean, real simple drawings like this. And he introduced this to us.
Bare bones.
Bare bones, right.
That's the way to do it.
And he would do beautiful animation like this. And I was like freaked out. It was like, really? You're serious? And then he would do drawings like that. Then he would show it and flip it. Oh, and it came so alive. And he animated pose to pose, straight ahead. But he would put that down and then he'd go over. He's a great draftsman. Go over it and put it on model and everything.
That's another thing. You finished?
Sure. I'll shut up.
Are you finished now?
I'll shut up. I'll shut you up.
That reminds me of when early on when Wayne and I met through the school that we went to. I went to his house one time and I said, Rico, you got to show me. How do you go from a rough scribble to a finished drawing? And you said, well, it's easy. You go like this. And you did a little scribble of this fish.
I said it was easy?
Yeah, you said it was easy. You lied. You lied to me.
Oh, I did.
You threw another sheet of paper over it, and I watched you, and you drew over that. You flipped the paper to check the rough, and you'd do this finished, clean drawing of a fish. And I was like, I watched you do it, and I still don't know how to do it. It's like magic. And it was so frustrating to me. It took me years and years to be able to go from a scribbly drawing to tying it down and making it clean. I just couldn't do it. And the reason why is because my draftsmanship wasn't up to par.
That's why you draw. You guys.
Better you draw, the easier it becomes.
Yes, yeah. And draw everything. Draw everything around you. Do quick sketches of people in the park, restaurants.
Everywhere.
Cafes.
Malls.
Yeah. And that's the reason in The Illusion of Life, they asked, Frank and Ollie had asked all the other animators, what would you say the key element to doing traditional animation? What's the most important thing? And they all said drawing. draw all the time. Draw the figure all the time.
Even if you do CG, because if you draw all the time, you know how to make things read with clarity and
I agree.
great silhouette.
And you know how, because we're usually drawing human figures, but draw animals all the time. It's like, man, that Aaron Blaze, that guy can draw some animals.
There's a lot of good draftsmen out there.
Yeah. And study, that's the other thing. Man, you guys got the internet.
Oh my gosh.
This is
limitless.
That it's just the information that is out there is just beyond belief. So take full advantage of it,
That's a good point. I just read in a book recently about how there is kind of an information overload or overwhelm where there's so much material that practice and to cover. How do you know where to begin, right?
Oh, that's true.
So
yeah.
what I recommend doing is this book I was reading says to focus on one thing at a time. Say, okay, I'm only going to work on silhouette values, and you work on that section and look for that kind of reference on the internet. Or I want to look at straight ahead animation, so you look at those videos, or pose to pose only, that kind of thing. So you assimilate piece by piece. That way you don't go drown in this ocean of stuff.
That's true. I never thought about that. So you're just inundated with all this information. Where do you start?
It's
right?
a big problem with the new generation because of this information.
Mike's right. Just sort of take it one step at a time.
Yeah.
And one subject at a time. I just ordered a book, Understanding the Torso. I'm waiting for the book, and I'm gonna understand it better. It's all about the torso, and so I agree with Rico 100% on that. It's sort of just take it all one step at a time, and don't, especially if you're young, don't be in such a hurry to conquer it so quickly to where you burn yourself out.
Yeah, I've very rarely experienced burnout, but I hear you have a different story about that.
I burned myself out completely.
Me too.
Judy too. Judy.
Completely. That's really important.
Yeah, you got to give yourself time to assimilate all this stuff. Don't be too much in a rush. I mean, when I started out, I always considered myself a late bloomer. I just was like, it's going to take as long as it takes. I'm fine with that. I wasn't freaking out about it.
I was freaking out. I wanted to get there quick.
You guys got to learn patience.
OCD, me and Judy. Yeah.
I have a question, guys. This is for Mike.
Yeah.
Somebody asked, is Tom Mazzocco.
Tom Mazzocco. Right. That's a good friend of mine, Tom Mazzocco.
Ah, okay. Hi, Tom.
Great guy.
He said, Mike, do you ever dream that the guys with whom you share, they shot this movie, you share a cubicle 30 plus years ago will continue to handle you through the rest of your career?
Haunt you.
I didn't get it.
Guys that you shared a cubicle with 30 years ago would continue to haunt you.
I never in my wildest dreams ever thought that was going to happen. But here we are.
Is Tom who you...
That's funny.
We used to share a cubicle, back in the day in Filmation, I believe. And oh man, he was a brilliant genius with these gag drawings. He did the best gag drawings. They were kind of like... who's the guy that does The Simpsons? He invented The Simpsons. Matt Groening. He was he did a Matt Groening spoof thing where he did this full-page gag drawing of a bunch of people from the studio, and he said, this guy talks too much, and this guy's like the introvert. He did the simple drawing, and they were perfect caricatures of each person, and they were perfect insights into each character. He nailed everybody. I still have that drawing to this day. I have it. I kept all that stuff, by the way. I've kept all the gag drawings. I got folders and folders filled with that stuff. I'm going to put out a book someday and publish all those drawings.
Well, Tom just wrote, "Will pay me." No, he says, "Thank you very much for your question." Oh no,
that was me.
Oh, that was you.
Oh.
But I thought. Oh, sorry, Tom.
Yeah, Tom's an industry veteran. He's been in it longer than I have. he's been around the block, man. He's done all storyboarding and writing and all kinds of stuff. Animation assistant, and he's done it all. In fact, we worked Tom Mazzocco.
Oh, really?
In fact, we worked together on a film that was done by Tom Cito. We both did assistant work on that.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, that's cool.
That was fun.
Oh, there's my.
He's an animator.
Yeah, he can do he can do it all. Animation, storyboards, writing. He's got this great mind. You know, he's very creative.
Oh, Damien. Say hello to my buddy Damien.
Hi, Damien. What country is he in?
Damien's in Colombia.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, I wonder what time it is over there.
I think Damien right now it's probably, was it
12 hours ahead?
What time is it there, Damien?
Is it tomorrow over there or what?
Hey, Tom wrote.
I don't know.
Tom wrote, "Love you, Mike."
Aw. Love you too, man.
Rico, someone does care about you.
I was wondering. No, we go way back. Way back. Jeez, the 80s, man. Early 80s. Yep. I got tons of stories. Cube mates, man. There's like a million stories.
Were you guys actually in a big cubicle together?
It was, I think, Sheldon and him and Co, I think, at one point. There was like a cube of 4 of us. But it kept changing, you know. One time Sheldon was in there.
Right.
There's all kinds. There's shifted things around so much I can't remember.
What was that, honey? Did you hear that?
Yeah, I heard that, but I don't know what it was. Does that mean you got mail?
Oh, does that mean that we're coming to a close?
No, it can't be.
Oh.
We still got half an hour.
Oh, okay.
It was me, sorry, I got a message there.
Oh, okay.
I put my phone on silence.
I did too. Judy.
I should turn it all the way off so it doesn't buzz.
Nah, the buzz is okay. The buzz is okay. Let me come over here.
Question.
Okay.
Well, actually, this is not a question. So Andrew Sharp, he said, "Thanks for doing this, guys. Always learn something new every time."
Oh, thank you, Andrew.
Yeah,
I
you're
just
welcome.
read that too. Andrew
You're
Sharp
welcome.
and
I don't know if I miss any question because
there's one that says how did you guys meet?
Oh yeah, but I haven't read that.
Well, he went to a school called the Brandeis Art Institute out in Reseda out here in California in the Valley, San Fernando Valley. And I came out here specifically to attend that school because it was recommended to me by Glenn Vilppu, who I met at Disney Studios. I got to take a tour of the studios through a family friend's relative, some, distant.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, so I got a tour, and then I met Glenn Vilppu, and he said, "You got to go to the school that I teach at, Brandeis Art Institute." So I went to the school, moved out here, attended the school, and they told me right away, they said, "Oh, you got to hook up with this guy, Wayne, and this guy named Dave Woodman. You guys would hit it off. You seem to have the same, passion and drive and desire to learn this art form. You love it so much. You got to look them up." So they gave me your information, I guess, and I looked you up, and that's the rest is history. That's how we met.
Yeah, Mike called me and I said, "Who are you?"
He didn't know who the hell I was.
I want to know you. Do I want to know you?
He didn't know who I was.
No, actually, I was really happy to meet someone who cared about animation. No one I knew cared about it. Dave Woodman and Alan Sharp, and there was Clay.
Smart.
Smart. Sorry. Right, Smart. Which I'm not anymore.
There was very few people that were into it the way that we were into it back then, and it still holds true to this day. I mean, we keep assuming everybody loves it as much as we do. When we talk to them, they're like, "Huh?" We're like, it's I keep forgetting that a lot of people don't get it, or they don't care as much, or whatever, or we haven't met them yet. I'm sure there's plenty of people out there.
We met at the school, didn't we? Meet physically?
I think that's
okay.
Where we probably first met. Yeah.
Right, and I was just sort of winding down at the school.
You finished already. That's why they said you got to look this guy up.
That's right.
And I just got there, so that was 1983.
1983.
It's been a while.
God, seems like yesterday.
It
All right,
does.
let me read another question.
Seems like 2 months ago. Well, a year ago, maybe. Not 37 years.
Tom Mazzacco, Mike Jens, Co., you and me with special guest Sheldon.
Yeah, Co. Co is this. Oh man, that guy was a machine. He did. I swear to God, Rico, when he did his clean drawings, it looked like a machine printed them out. It was so flawless. I only know 3 human beings that can do that or that have done that. Ko Hashiguchi, Ed Rivera, and Kathleen Hidalgo Polvani. Those are the only 3 people I know that make it look like a machine printed out. So perfect. Talk about anal and OCD.
Well, I remember Ko there.
Oh, God. And he used to hold his pencil more different than anybody else I ever knew. Most people hold their pencil like this, right? When they do cleanup, right? They want to get control with their fingers, right? Get in there and get this precise line. A lot of people draw like this. They, instead of the pencil being like this, they put it between these 2 fingers and they draw like that.
Here, get a little closer to that camera.
It gives them a better anchor because the pencil's locked between these 2 fingers rather than out here. So, but Ko, he had his own way of drawing. He would hold the pencil completely different.
That's right.
He would hold it like this. He showed me. That's how I know how to do it. He says, I hold it like this, mister. He holds it like this, so he pushes his thumb into the pencil like that, and he's got a tight grip, and he goes like... And then when he draws, he doesn't... You know, when you draw this way, you go like this. There's a natural curve to your wrist, right? So you got to move the disc and do this and do that. And then even with this, you've got a certain pivot, right? Well, he would do this, and he would just never change his angle of his hand. He just moved the disc and go...
Oh, did he?
He always did his line in the same direction. So he carved it like he was carving it into...
Oh, so it was always changing the disc?
Always changing the disc, and then he cut.
And the same angle?
Same angle with his hand. He'd just do that. I watch him.
Oh, my God.
I said, how do you hold your pencil? What? He says, like this, mister. I put my thumb here and pinch it with the forefinger, then I put these for braces, and then I do another brace with it. I'm like, jeez, that's so awkward. I can't do it.
Did he suffer from carpal tunnel?
No, he didn't. That was natural for him. Which
Really?
Proves the point. You don't do whatever's comfortable for you.
Right.
He got great results. Like I said, it was like a machine printed out.
Wow.
What a cast of characters. Mike Gens, Sheldon, Ko, and Tom Mazzacco, myself. All whacked out crazy people.
Well, I liked it when he wrote in special guests.
Yeah, special guest Sheldon. And he caricatured everybody. It was great. Even himself. He did like a Simpsons version of himself or a Matt Groening version of himself. It's just priceless. 2 dots for eyes, and he had the hair.
Here's one for you. Hey, Mike. Oh, it's from Damien. Hey, Mike. I'm curious about your experience working with Chuck Jones. Do you have any anecdotes with him?
Absolutely.
How was him in personal? How was he personally?
He was a really, really super nice guy to me. I mean, maybe there's people over the course of years that, you know, there's always stories you hear about, oh, so-and-so was not that nice to me, or they weren't me, or they were mean or something. But he was really cool to everybody at the studio. I worked with him in '94, and he would call us into the conference room at one point, everybody, all the artists, and he'd say, okay, you guys got any questions for me? Because he's the master, you know.
Oh, yeah.
All that experience. And
You don't question Chuck.
You could hear crickets. It was just dead silence. And all we were thinking was, what are we going to ask him that's not going to sound stupid? Like, how do you do hair? How do you do follow through? It's like, no. You don't want to ask something like that, because he'd go, what? You know, you were always self-conscious about it.
Yeah.
So one guy piped up, and I can't remember what he asked him, but he asked some question, and he was very, cordial, answered the question. But it was really intimidating to be in the room with this guy who was such a legend. There he is right in front of you. It's like having Walt Disney in the room or something, Chuck Jones. But one thing he did mention to us as a group, he said, never compare yourself to other artists, or you guys, don't compare yourselves to each other. Just do the best that you can do.
Oh, did it?
Yeah, and I thought, that's really smart.
That was cool.
Because all you're going to do is sit there and judge yourself and compare yourself with other people, and it's pointless. Just do what you can do.
That's true. It's just like your signatures.
Right.
Everyone's unique.
Everybody's got their own angle and their own twist and take on stuff, so just relish in that.
Tell the people about the way he'd fill out the sheets.
Oh, yeah. He would fill out, being the director on the cartoons that we were working on for him, he would fill out the action column in the exposure sheets. So he would say, like, there was a scene where the coyote jumps into the scene and lands on this board and does like a seesaw effect and makes this rock go flying in the air, and it hits him on the head and it pounds him down through he cuts this edge of a cliff in half. Anyway, he wrote the whole thing out on all the actions out on the exposure sheet. You know, like Coyote comes in 12 frames, you know, and he'd draw a little line for 12 frames. And then he'd say next action is Coyote lands here and on the board. Then he'd have 9 frames, and I'd look at that, and I had this scene to do at home, and I didn't have a pencil test system, so I had to go by what his timing was. And the producer told me, follow his timing on the X sheet, because he's really, you know,
You had to, right?
you have to follow what his timing is. He wants it exactly to the frame.
The guy was such a master. He knew on the X sheet.
Oh yeah, he'd just draw it all out. That would make it easy to time. So I didn't need a pencil test system. I would just flip it and see if it worked. And I go, looks like it works to me. So I'd hand it in, and I got a job on staff because of. He said, I like what you did. You know,
Following his.
Yeah, followed the direction and didn't vary from it. You know, maybe a frame or two, but nothing crazy.
Right.
But yeah, that was really nice. You know, I was like, wow.
And this brings up something, you guys. So we've made some videos on the exposure sheet. I want you to know those videos I made is more of the norm. When you're working in the studio system, the director will write down the action roughly happens in this many frames, and another action and everything. But when Mike told me that story with Chuck Jones, it was I've never seen an X sheet mapped out like that before, where you had to follow those beats exactly to the director.
To the frame.
Yeah, and that's pretty unique. So just so that you know that this guy, Chuck Jones, was such a master of that timing that he wanted for his cartoons, that he knew exactly before seeing anything what it would be.
So much experience, yeah.
Yeah.
Man, it was really trippy to be in his presence because he's such a legend, you know. It was surreal. I mean, there was a point where he called me into this room, and we were working on Another Froggy Evening, which was the part 2 of the singing frog character. And he said, hey, come in here. I want to show you how to draw the frog. And I'm like, okay. It was just him and I.
Oh, did he?
Yeah, it's just him and I in this little tiny room. And he was like, he put down a sheet of paper, started going, his body's kind of like a pickle, like this. You know, and he was drawing it. And I'm like, I was just like trying to concentrate on what he was trying to tell me, but I was so freaked out going, wait a minute, I'm in the room with Chuck Jones. It's just him and I. I was geeking out big time. I could barely focus on what he was trying to tell me. I was freaking out so much. And I've had the same experience with Eric Goldberg too. I geeked out on him and he wasn't too happy about that.
What's that? What do you mean? What happened?
I had to shoot this pencil test that he did for this theme park thing where Iago, the parrot from Aladdin, was doing this. He did some gorgeous animation of him, just, you know, all over the scene and stuff. And I shot it for him so he could check out the how it looked. And he came in to the studio. This was at Renegade, and you know, I was like, I was geeking out that Eric Goldberg was there. Even though I worked with him before on the Chuck Jones things and also at Disney, I was still geeking out because he's such a master, man. The guy is so good. And I was just like, yeah, he was just looking at me like, what's wrong with this guy? I'm such a fan of animation. I love it so much. It's just I can't control it. He just wanted to get down to business, you know.
I'm just trying to read some questions.
But he did mention, I remember, he said this was one of the most difficult scenes I've ever had to do because I had to pump it out so fast. And I'm like, you did this fast? Whew.
What do you mean?
It was just amazing, beautiful animation. It was like he was animating it in and out of space, flying through it like a live-action plate, you know?
Oh, yeah.
And it was like all this perspective, and the volumes were perfect, man. And the acting was perfect. It was just gorgeous.
I remember he gave a lecture at Brandis.
Oh, you're lucky. I never got to see him there.
I had no idea who he was. And this guy comes in. It was in Tom Cito's class. And so this guy comes in, and I don't know who he is. Then he starts drawing on the chalkboard. These big drawings, and it was just like beautiful, clean drawings in sequence of a character. I can't remember exactly what it was doing. I remember seeing those drawings thinking, man, I'm never going to make it. It's like, this guy's doing this on a chalkboard.
Right,
you know,
side
big
by side.
Side by side in sequence.
Oh, man.
But he's a unique genius. Let me see. There was a question here. It would be from Daniela.
Joseph, I think the next question is from Joseph. Yes, he says, Joseph seems. What is that? Do you think it's worth going to college for animation? And if so, what should I look for?
That's a good question.
That is a good question.
Real good. Well,
they're so expensive now.
They're really, really expensive.
Outrageous.
When we went to the Brandeis Art Institute, we paid $500 for a 12-week course in animation or whatever it was, character design, you name it, life drawing, quick sketch, whatever.
We really lucked out, man. We had really good instructors.
Yeah,
and
top notch.
It was like CalArts, even back then, was like, that is outrageous.
Yes, thousands.
$500
a shot.
How would I answer? I don't know. How would you answer that question?
That's a tricky one to answer. I'm going to attempt it. First of all, I would try to not rely on going to a school to learn, because a lot of them are overpriced nowadays. And if you want to save a lot of money, you can learn a lot of this stuff that they're going to teach you. I can almost guarantee you, from books and videos online. Like even your channel's it covers pretty much everything.
What do you mean even?
Yeah, even this guy's channel, even this lowlife. No, I mean you don't have to go to university. You can go. Look at your videos.
Agree with Mike, man. It's just too much money.
It is.
It's outrageous what they're asking for.
You're
going to be in debt for the rest of your life.
If I was a student now, I couldn't afford it. There's no way.
No, I couldn't afford it either. I would recommend, if it's possible, to go to life drawing classes. If you can, like, just pay, like what we have. We had Glenn Villepeu to teach us life drawing. He's a master. Fred Fixler, the Riley Method, they offered over there. But it's just...
you can practice on your own,
and
you'll get really far. I guarantee. I mean, if you look at all the exercises that are to do in the Preston Blair book, the Eric Goldberg book, and the Richard Williams book, that could last you years.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, you never stop learning, and those are really good exercises.
And if you use like Croquis Cafe,
for life drawing.
For life drawing, you know.
What is that exactly?
It's on Vimeo now, and I think now they charge. What it was, it's I think $30 a year. A lot cheaper in art school.
Pretty cheap, yeah. A year?
And what it is live models, and it's really a lot like being in a life drawing class, where the model will go in, take different poses, male, female, take different poses, and it's live, and it's very similar to life drawing class. And then just do a lot of drawing, like we were saying before, from life, out in the park. Just draw everything.
The zoo, if it's open in your
zoo,
local zoo.
Yes, definitely. Yeah. I used to draw my cat all the time.
There you go.
And there you go. Just do a lot of that drawing. And go on and check out Glenn Villepeu, Steve Houston, Croco, Michael Hamilton. Is that his name? Or Hampton? Who else? Michael Matisse. I recommend Aaron Blaze. We're talking about really top draftsmen that got courses out there, and just follow their instructions. And all of them are a little different, you guys, their approach. That's fine. That's good. You're going to find one that will work for you. And just think of shapes and forms. Draw shapes and forms. So to answer it, I wouldn't pay that much money.
How would you recommend studying from the master's books? Like if you had one of those master draftsman books, how would you recommend going about studying to learn from those?
I did study from them. I would draw try to duplicate their drawings. You know, draw Michelangelo, Raphael, Da Vinci, Norman Rockwell, all the masters.
Illustrators and fine artists.
Yeah. Just studied Degas. I learned a ton from studying him. I know a lot of people animators don't like Picasso. You should study all. Not you, dude. I know you love him.
I love Picasso.
Study all the masters. Study all the arts. All it's going to do is help you open your eyes up to the different approaches, what art is about, and you'll notice one thing. They're always talking about, if we're not talking about color, it's always shapes and forms. Shapes, forms, and values. Shapes, forms, and values. And you can do this without having to pay. How much does it cost?
For an animation class nowadays?
If you went to Cal Arts.
Oh, God, I don't know how much those places charge. It's way, way more than I would recommend. Not when you can learn on your own.
Yeah.
I mean, it does accelerate your learning if you have someone like you who's teaching online. That speeds it up because you're getting right to the point and you're not, some people they flounder around. If they have your advice to focus on, pinpoint exactly what they need to work on specifically where they're at, then it helps them excel faster. But
it does. And if you can find that somewhere, someone you can physically be with, but it's just really just follow the videos, and it's time, it's tenacity.
Yeah, even if you do take formal instruction, you still have to do the work yourself. So why not just do the work yourself anyway?
Well, I think
right?
Yeah, exactly.
That's what we did.
I mean, that is what it is. You get the assignments, you have to go home.
Yeah.
That's where the work is at home.
Even though we paid $500 a class, we did 10 times the work at home that we did in the class.
Oh, definitely.
We were busting our backs trying to get this stuff down, struggling and really forcing ourselves to never give up and always focus on what our goal was.
And plus, you got this internet where you can see all these pencil tests and you can look up Milk Call, Freddie Moore, anybody you want. You can look up their drawings and see their rough drawings. It's just an incredible source to have that.
If we had that at our fingertips back then in the Richard Williams book, and oh man,
it would have made the process much faster.
We would have ate that stuff up fast right away. Like get in those pencil tests and look and really analyze what's going on and learn as much as possible.
Oh, Raji says, Raji, Raji can draw. And I always wondered if you drew from just studying. He wrote New Masters Academy. Yes, New Masters Academy. Very good. Thank you for mentioning that. There you're learning from the pros. You're the masters. You're learning from the true master draftsman.
What is it?
It's the one. It's got.
Is it a webpage?
Like Steve Houston. It's a class. It's a class that you can sign up for.
Online.
Oh
wow. Yeah,
and it's up to you how much you want to spend, and it's not about the degree. That's the other thing, you guys. It's having a degree isn't going to get you a job. It's your portfolio that's going to get you the job.
I got a story about that. This goes way back to the early 80s. I was in a character design class that was taught by Michael Giamo, a master at character design. He's an old Disney alumni. And he was teaching at the Brandeis Art Institute when I was there. And he had us make up our own characters, and it was supposed to be based off of an object, like a pen or a brush or whatever, a comb. I used a comb. And all the students, we put all of our drawings up, our assignments up on the wall for him to critique. And, we had, I don't know, maybe a few days to do it or something. And so I used a comb for a mustache on a little cook, chef guy. And this one gal who had a master's degree in art, and she put her drawing up there, and he's going along giving critiques, and he goes, who did this one? And this guy goes, I did that one. And he said, what is it? It was so messed up. He's like, what is it? And she says, that's penny pencil. And he said, that's a pencil? She goes, yeah. And she walks up and goes, this pencil's the head, this pencil's the arm, that pencil's the arm, this pencil's the leg. And he goes, oh, I see, yeah, okay. But the drawing was so, shall we say, different that he couldn't even tell what the heck it was. I mean, and she had a master's degree. So like you said, the degree does not matter.
The woman who started this, it's not around anymore, Brandis Art Institute. The woman who started it, her name was April Brandis. The reason she started it is because she went to art school, got a degree, and couldn't get a job. And she was so frustrated that she started a life drawing class in her garage, and that's where she met Glenn Vilppu, and he suggested to her, why don't you try, opening up a school. And it was a great school. It
Really
became, what did it become after Fixers split? It was California.
Oh,
What
no.
was Fixers?
Oh, that was, I can't remember the name of it.
That was sort of the offshoot.
When the school shut down, a couple schools broke off of that.
Right.
And started continuing the education. One was Fred Flixler's school, I guess.
Yeah.
And I can't remember the other one, Mark
Westerberg.
Westermo. Yeah,
Westermo.
he started the school
Yeah.
too. There was all an offshoot from that
Yeah.
school. But the thing about Brandeis, for at least animation, was the same teachers that were teaching at Cal Arts would moonlight at Brandeis and teach there. So we got the same exact education
Exactly.
that the Cal Arts people got for like $500, and they were paying thousands and getting in debt. I don't mean to put it down. I'm just saying that's the fact. And we got lucky. We were there. That school was only open for a matter of 5 years, 7 years.
Think about 5
and we
or
were
so.
there for that window in time, and we were lucky we got there at that time at that price to get that education from those people.
Yes, true.
And Sue Croyer was very, very influential in getting all these top-notch people like John Musker involved, Bill Croyer, Mike Giamo, Ed Hansen.
Oh, is that
or not
right?
Ed Hansen, Dan Hansen,
Uh-huh.
to do all these great classes. And Daryl Van Sitters was
Oh, I
another
didn't
one.
know that.
Yeah, she got all these industry professionals to come in
Uh.
and teach there. And timing classes, caricature, you name it, layout. I think we got another question over there. Just saw it move.
Oh, let's see.
That was a great school. And I'm such a geek, I saved all the promotional materials from that school. I have them in a folder. All the brochures and the prices and everything, and all the instructors. Leonard was there, Sheldon was there, Tom Cito was there.
Yeah. Oh no. Here's one for you. How much freedom do you get in designing characters for projects you work on versus executing someone else's set ideas, like mannerisms and all the little personality details from Selena?
That's a good question.
You don't get much. That's a whole department onto itself, the character designers.
I think it's different in each studio.
It is.
Some
It is,
projects, it depends who's in charge. If they give you, sometimes they give you total freedom and just say, come up with whatever you want, whatever enters your mind. And then they'll, work with that. And then you guys will co-develop it along together. And some places say, we want something very specific. It's quite a range. It's hard to pinpoint.
It is, but they usually have it was like Milk Hall was the designer, I'd say, for Disney for the most part, right?
For all the later stuff.
For all the later stuff.
Fred Moore was
and
earlier.
Freddie Moore was the earlier stuff.
I know when you go into places like The Simpsons, you have to obviously follow that style and come up with characters that fit within that universe and that look. So you're kind of limited there in a way.
Yeah.
So it's the same with all these shows, and projects. But there are some things that are just being newly developed, I guess, like at Netflix, where they would give you total creative freedom to come up with something.
But that's the show creator, right? Who basically comes up, or he hires
The style.
The
Yeah, usually
right.
I guess the creator of the show comes up with a style, and then they hire people that have kind of those sensibilities, and they can enhance what they've.
I remember when I worked on the Rugrats movie. I can't remember. Really cool guy. He was the character designer. And whenever there were new characters, they would just give it to him because he understood that style. I think he might have come up with it originally. So they would give it to him because it was just his innate style. And then on Catscratch, there was just a unique style to it, but that was really fun. I got to do some character designs on that one, just secondary characters.
That was a Nickelodeon TV show, right?
Yeah.
Catscratch.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a tough gig. I mean, it's not easy to come up with character designs or to refine them and stuff. It requires...
Well, you got to make them all look like they're in the same world.
Right, and then you have to have, it's got to have a certain flair to it. That's why it's good to look at everything. Like, the guy who was an animator on the Wicked Queen and Snow White, Art Babbitt was his name, and I heard that he said, I guess in Richard Williams' classes he was teaching for a while, he said an animator has to be a student of everything. Whether it's theater, dance, fine art, sculpture, everything. And you can draw from all these different sensibilities. Like, we go to an art museum and study the paintings, right? Do copies of the poses or the compositions or whatever. All these different sensibilities you can draw from that.
You got to be, all artists, I think, visual artists, you got to be an observer. You got to observe everything. And animation, then you got to observe personalities of where... I'm a real nice guy, and he's, just kidding.
Rico,
sorry, Rico.
making fun of me, eh? See?
I never make fun of you, Rico.
Wait, I have there's a question because you started from the bottom. You had to go all the way because you missed so many questions.
Oh, sorry.
So
let's get them all. We got to get all those.
Okay.
Somebody is soda pop. You said, do you ever study art? I think it's art maybe. Oh, arts like what's the name? Complicated for me too. Al Hirschfeld.
Al Hirschfeld.
Oh,
yeah.
Do we ever study
Musha,
his art? Yeah, he's.
Wait, Musha Maxfield. Maxfield and Parrish.
Maxfield
I know
Parrish?
Disney took from them a bit, so that's the question.
Yeah, the Disney artists, under Walt's supervision, were always trying to look at different artists for inspiration. Maxfield Parrish. Definitely Al Hirschfeld for that Disney Fantasia sequence. Eric Goldberg obviously used that style for that whole sequence.
Definitely, yeah.
And then there's other artists, like Milt Kahl was a big fan of Heinrich Klei.
Yeah.
Of his work.
Oh,
beautiful.
You could see, especially in Fantasia, you could see Heinrich Klei all over the place.
And his last name is spelled Kley, if you want to look it up online. There's tons of images of his work. T.S. Sullivan is another one. Andreas used to...
Andreas.
Crazy about him. It was just beautiful work. I mean, good taste. Andreas, thumbs up on that. Who else is... Oh, I remember during Beauty and the Beast, when they were developing that, they were looking at J.C. Leyendeckers' style, the illustrator, because it was very wood-carved and graphic, and they were going to go with that, but they changed their mind at the last minute.
Oh, they did.
All up and down the hallways, they had all these color printouts, beautiful color copies of his work, all up and down the hallways, so we could see it all day and every day.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah, and his name is spelled Leyendecker, Leyendecker, I believe.
Let me keep reading. You keep going.
But there's all these different artists. The more you can look at, the better off you are. John Singer Sargent is good. Obviously, the masters, Picasso and
Van Gogh.
Yeah, Van Gogh. The list is endless.
Here's Soda Pop. Didn't Eric Goldberg design the original DuckTales series? And the genie from Aladdin. Genie for sure. I didn't know about the DuckTales.
Yeah, it's possible. I don't know. I haven't heard anything about that. But definitely Genie. That's his whole sequence he did almost single-handedly.
Yeah.
He did most of it himself. He had other people helping him.
Which you could also see the Hirschfeld influence.
Oh, huge. Yeah, that line work and the S-curves and everything. Beautiful stuff. Yeah, I love Hirschfeld's work.
And then there was... And also... Siri? What was the guy's name? The English guy who was in the World War II in the prison camp?
Oh, Ronald Searle.
Searle,
Ooh,
yes.
Talk about a
yes.
good draftsman.
Yes, his style was. I think Call really liked him too, right?
Yeah, yeah. Another thing, you're not going to believe this, but I remember hearing in an interview that Milt Kahl said that whoever did the Muppets for Sesame Street was a genius, because if you look at how they do the acting and the performance, it's only an open and closed mouth, but yet they're using their body to get all these attitudes.
I use that
Genius.
equation all the time when I'm teaching lip sync,
Mm-hmm.
and it's more the performance than
Yeah.
it is the actual.
In fact, you're not going to
Motion.
believe this, but in dialogue, the lip shapes and lip sync is the least important thing. It's the overall body gesture and language that's the most important.
Absolutely.
And then it goes down to the expression, then down to the mouth. Well, you'd think the mouth is the most important because it's dialogue.
Yeah, exactly.
But
and
it's
it was so intimidating. I remember my first dialogue scene. I didn't understand it at all. And then once you realize it is more of the body language, the head tilts and everything. There is a scene in Bambi where Bambi says something to his mom. They didn't even put in mouth shapes. It's a not a long shot, mid shot, but his head's slightly turned, and you don't even see any mouth movement. It's a real subtle one. He's saying something really quiet, just to show that you can get away with.
The same thing happens in a Bugs Bunny cartoon called Easter Eggs, where Bugs Bunny goes to deliver the Easter eggs for the Easter Bunny because his bunion's hurt or whatever. So he says, I'll deliver them for you. So he goes to this gangster house, and this little kid starts a fight with him. And he's like, okay, kid, and he's getting ready to face off, and they're doing this all the way around. And as Bugs Bunny's coming around this way, you could see his face, and he's saying, listen, kid, we shouldn't do this because somebody's going to get hurt. His mouth isn't moving at all.
Oh, really?
At all. There's no animated dialogue, but all this dialogue is, and you don't even really notice.
You don't even notice.
Because you're into the whole scene, you know? So you can get away with murder in some of these things.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's got to be a bunch of others, right?
Let's see what else.
We want to make sure we answer everybody's questions.
Trying
if
to.
we can. I know there's probably a lot. All good questions, by the way. Those are great. It's like it opens up a whole can of worms.
Andrew
One
Shaw.
question.
Go ahead,
Actually, it was PS Anime. Anime say, what is the meaning of draftsmanship? If anybody knows, but Kathleen Hidalgo Polvan, is that your relative?
That's my wife. That's my super talented wife.
Oh. I was going to say, it's a sister or something.
Is she up here?
She's one of the people that draws and it looks like a machine did it. Remember I was talking about it? That's how perfect her drawings are. They're perfect.
Anyway, she answered that question. She said, draftsmanship is basically ability or skill to draw well to the point of highly skilled.
Yes, that's absolutely.
And then she said, hey, I heard that. I don't know what you said. And she said, hey, I heard that.
Probably some crack I made. Hi, baby.
I'm trying to find Kathleen up here.
Yeah, she's right. I mean, that's basically in a nutshell what draftsmanship means. It's just drawing skills. You know, it's of course we want to have the highest drawing skills that we can have because it makes life a lot easier rather than struggling. So the better you can draw. Like, here's a perfect example. James Baxter. Oh my God, that guy can draw. He did this, and he's not only a good draftsman, but he comes up with these ideas that are like you wouldn't even think of them. He did this animation of a puppy dog laying on his back, and he gets up.
Freak out over that scene every time we look at it.
Kind of floppily gets up, and his ears are flopping, and the way he gets up is like I never would have thought of that. It's great.
Yeah, you guys, just to let you know, there is a 3-hour video of James Baxter animating. I recommend everybody to watch it. I can't remember what channel it is. It's relatively new.
It's on YouTube, yeah.
It's on YouTube. Just
look for a 3-hour video
of James Baxter.
He animates an entire scene of a squirrel getting hit by a nut, and then he picks it up or he kicks it or something like that.
Yeah, and he'll show you he shifts and trays. He does whatever it takes to make the scene work.
Very enlightening.
And we're talking about a A+ animator there.
Oh, he's top notch. I
Yeah.
love his work.
Yeah.
It's beautiful, just beautiful.
He animated Rafiki and
In Lion
Lion King.
I gotta give him props. He's such a nice guy. Right after he finished Rafiki and Lion King, I got to go to lunch with him, hang out with him, and I said, "Dude, nice job on Rafiki." And he's just like, "Oh, thanks, man." He was just humble, you know. It was
Yeah.
great. Just a regular guy, you know. He's not big headed or anything.
He seems cool.
Yeah, he's totally cool.
Have you ever animated overseas?
More question for, I think I missed a question for Kathleen Hidalgo Pulvani. She said, will you please share a bit more of Dale's animation experience? Who were his mentor, and maybe a story from your time at their animation?
Yeah, Dale would always talk highly about Eric Larson and John Lounsbury being the most generous with their time and their talent and their advice. Those were the main guys that taught him for the 9 Old Men. He also learned from Frank Thomas and Milt Call and all those other guys, but those guys especially.
But they seem to be more willing.
Yeah, they were more free with their advice
Yeah.
and passing along, carrying on the torch. Whereas, a lot of people, I don't mean to talk bad about anybody, but a lot of people, they get insecure and they want to hoard what knowledge or experience they have, and they don't want you to have it because they feel threatened.
Right.
And it's like, no, man, just, we're all in this together. Let's have some fun. And I love that whole spirit about early on in the Disney studios where they would share ideas and learn off each other, and they all grew together because they came up with Squash and Stretch and Anticipation. They developed all these things as they went along. And
yeah, and those guys were like the Freddie Moores, Ham Lusk, Norm Ferguson,
Art Babbitt,
Teitla.
yeah, Bill Title, all those guys.
They were the ones discovering all those things, and the 9 Old Men just refined it. Incredible how they refined it.
Yeah, beautiful work.
But I think it was Eric Larson who really, if it wasn't for him, it could have been lost. All of those, Disney principles, because he was the one that started, right?
Like a training program.
The training program.
Yeah, and that's where Dale learned, and a lot of other people.
Right.
John Musker was in there. Oh, it's a whole cast of amazing, Disney and artists.
That's a book I also recommend to read, is Eric Larson's 50 Years in the Mouse Factory. I highly recommend to read that book. It's all his notes, memoirs, and talking about animation, lectures that he gave to all the young people at the time,
Yeah.
So that's another really good one.
But to answer Kathleen's question even more, when we were at Bear Animation with Dale, learning under him, he always tried to treat us the way Eric Larson treated him. He's very generous with all of the tips and advice and everything, all the little things that he learned, and to pass it on, to keep the art form going. It was really a great atmosphere because it was owned, the studio was owned and run by artists, and that makes a huge difference rather than being run by corporate suits and stuff. It's a totally different vibe. That's why I really loved Bear Animation. It was a mom and pop shop.
Yeah.
Where you could just walk into his office
and the thing about Dell was he understood. If he saw that you had the passion for it, I don't think I ever saw him get mad.
No, it was very.
He was just so mellow, and I remember going in really insecure and showing him the work, and he would just say, relax, it's going to take time, and he would never deny you anything. If you ask any kind of question, he would sit there and draw. I don't think he liked to be someone over his shoulder watching him draw, but he would still do it.
Yeah. He's a great guy.
He was one of the coolest guys I ever met in my life.
I think that's where we learned our, you want to pay it forward, we got that.
Yeah.
Eric Larson taught it to him and he taught it to us, and we're trying to pass on things to everybody and, keep it alive.
And Lounsbury was real big with Dale, right?
Oh, yeah. Same thing.
Yeah.
In fact, one thing Dale mentioned to me about John Lounsbury, he said one thing that he admired about Lounsbury was that when it was quitting time, he'd go home to his family. he wouldn't stay there till midnight or whatever. He was kept it in perspective. He did his work, and he did it well, obviously.
Yeah,
and then he'd go home and
I read
have
that.
his life.
I read that.
Yeah.
Talk about incredible draftsman.
I love his stuff.
Yeah.
Is there more?
Let's see. What time is it? We're running over, Rico. We should come to an end here.
We'll probably have to wrap it up here.
Yeah.
We have to have. Let's finish. See if we continue with the questions really quick.
Okay.
Really quickly.
Okay.
Let's see. Do you ever? Oh no, I finished that. What's the name of? 1 second.
Thanks for the questions, Kathleen.
Damien.
Damien, yeah.
Damien.
Yeah. He said, can you write those names you were mentioned? But that was before. It was quite a long time. Those names that you mentioned, that you were mentioning, it would be great to do a little bit of research, like to research about it.
Fine artists or
I don't know exactly because that was before. Because we are really way behind.
Oh, okay. Next time, you guys, I'm going to get this set up better where I can see it. I got to lean over. I don't know how to do that.
By the way, we should mention we're going to do this every Saturday, Los Angeles time at 10:30 a.m. That's Pacific time. So yeah, we want to answer all you guys' questions. Whatever you got, it could be anything.
Here's Tefik. What do you do to find inspiration for drawing or animation? What do you do for inspiration?
I watch cartoons. That inspires me. I see what these other people come up with, and it just fuels the fire for me.
I think, I do that, and I also go on Instagram and see other people's work. And
that's a huge inspiration.
That will really inspire me a lot. Something that I find unique.
Yeah, a lot of great stuff.
I'll do that. Judy, I had a question for you. Are you and I, as you're looking on the chat, is Animatra, is that the last question you have up there?
No, it's not the last question.
Okay. So it is different.
We have, just say hello to Rosa. Say hello, I am an animation student from Uruguay. Nice to Uruguay. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you. Rosa? Is that the name?
Rosa del Alba.
Rosa.
And also, Daniela Baron, she said, it would be great to see animation from Mike, Wayne, and Julie making you guys a breakdown of it. So,
breaking down animation. You mean watch it and then break it down, like comment on it, or draw it?
Could you say just to see an animation and see the breakdown of this animation?
Of our animation or just our?
Yeah, from Wayne, Mike, and Julie. That was to say.
Okay.
Well, thanks for tuning in, you gals. Both of you.
Okay.
Yeah, we're gonna do this every Saturday.
Yeah. No, every other Saturday.
Oh, every other Saturday.
Every other Saturday.
Every other Saturday. Okay.
Just trying to squeeze in.
Sorry.
Yes, so we're going to do it. We're going to learn this and get this set up better. All right.
Are there any other questions we could answer real quick, or any quick ones, or
Let's see.
any that you see, Judy?
Yeah. Oh, we finished this one. Wait, sorry. Solana, she said it's not a question, it's just to say thank you. This is so cool.
That's Solana, my niece.
Solana?
Yeah.
Solana Rose?
Yeah, that's my niece.
That's nice.
Hey, Solana.
She's a paisana?
Well, close enough. She's family, that's close enough. Yeah, there's another talented artist right there. She's in the film biz. She's carved out her own career for herself, working in live action, and she's taken off.
What does Solana do?
Oh gosh, she's like done production assistant work. She's draws. She paints. She's the one I was showing you her work.
Oh, cool. Yeah.
Yeah, she's really good.
Oh, that's amazing.
And you know, the thing about Solana is when she was a lot younger, when she was a little kid and she was drawing and stuff, she would kind of ask me, you know, what do you think I should look at and stuff. I'd said, I don't really want you to look at anything. I want you to keep drawing in your own style because you've got a cool style. You should develop your own style.
Oh, very good.
And she just took off.
Oh,
Now
very
she's
good.
really
Nice.
she's an expert at what she
Very
does. Yeah.
Very good.
Sometimes you don't want to corrupt. You know what I mean? You see
Yeah.
something develop and you're like, let it go.
Yeah.
You don't want to say, well, you should draw like Picasso. That's what I say. It's like, no, I don't want to ruin Solana's original style by having her copy Picasso, you know. It's okay to get inspired, but don't copy and, you know, mimic. It's like, do your own thing. That's what they did.
That Mike hits a good point there. That be inspired. Don't try to copy. I made that mistake.
Yeah, and you know what? A lot of our peers, when we were learning, they would look at like milk call stuff and they go, oh, God, I suck. I can't do this. I give up. And I was like, no. You can't compare yourself. You got to be inspired by it and go, I want to be able to do that quality.
Right.
Maybe not
right.
that style exactly, but I want to do that level of
But
quality.
you want to do that level.
Yeah, it was always inspiring to me. It was never, ever, it never made me feel like I wanted to give up because I could never achieve it. I know that eventually you can get there, you know, if you don't give up. The second you give up, you don't have a chance because that's it. So,
There's no point in giving up.
right. Just keep going, you know.
Let's see what else we got here.
We have a Andrew Sharp. He said, have you ever animated overseas, like in Europe?
No, have you?
Not well, I can't say professionally, like for an actual formal studio, but I did work on a project I animated on in Denmark, and it was for a small studio that was doing it as a they weren't charging money or anything. They were just doing it, you know, as a donation to the Doctors Without Borders organization. We did a film for them. They would do it every year. They would host it. It's a studio called Norlum, and they've worked on all kinds of stuff since then. You know, they've worked on Wolf Walkers. I think they helped out on that, which just came out. Song of the Sea, they helped on that. And
Song of the Sea is cool.
yeah, and there was another one called Long Way North that actually my wife worked on. They wanted me to animate on it, but I didn't have a certain credential, but Kathleen did. So I said, well, let's come over there and I can teach while she works on the movie. So we spent 3 months there.
Mike's
Your
taught.
wife is animator, Mike.
Oh, yeah, she can animate. She does animation and
that's
assistant
nice.
animation, character design. She does all kinds of stuff. Yeah.
Well, Mike taught in Europe. How many times have you gone over there?
I've been going back and forth teaching in Denmark for over 10, 12 years, something like that.
Okay.
Yeah, at a school called the Animation Workshop. A really good school. And I would teach there during the day, and Catherine would work all day and part of the night, you know, at the studio.
And it was great, right?
Oh, it was just the
You
best.
loved it.
I got to bring my son over. It was really nice. 3 months.
Why you there? Why you two don't have? You should have your own studio.
Yeah, Mike.
Your wife.
It just so happens that I do now. I just it's official. I just got it registered with the state, so I just started my own studio. It's official, but I didn't want to announce it yet. But it's okay because it's not, you know, up to full speed yet, but it's just starting out. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Next one. Oh, Daniela, she's referring when she was talking about the three of us who have an animation and do the breakdown. She said she was talking about the work we have done, any work we have done, like to have a breakdown of those animations. That's what she was talking about.
Oh, of any work that each of us had done?
Yeah, any work that we have done.
Oh.
Like the work you have done.
Okay, we can do that.
Yeah,
We can do
next
that in
time.
the
Yeah,
future.
that would be cool.
Yeah.
Okay.
What's that say?
Oh, I think
Art
I
World,
need-
please help. Art World, question. Art World, sir, I am working as an animator, but I want to improve more. What should I do for this? Art World, please. Art World, just keep at it. You want to improve? You are improving. Trust me. If you continue drawing, continue animating, you're improving. You just, you're going to make big improvements in the beginning, and it slows down. Just keep working at it. You sound like me when I was...
That's a really good point. This is something I want to definitely tell everybody out there. This is really, really important. If you animate or draw anything and you think, oh, that's terrible, that sucks. You just learned from that. No matter if it's good or bad that it came out, you just learned a lot from doing that. So doing, you're always learning. If you don't do it, you don't learn very much.
It's just like Mike says with the instruments. You play chords on I'm not very good at guitar, but I remember when I was first learning to play the chords, I thought this is going to be impossible. There's no way my hand's going to be able to make these shifts and everything. After time, it just becomes muscle memory. When you're drawing, get to a point to where you're used to poses, working loose and rough, and then when you get to that point, challenge yourself and push yourself for harder angles, for shortening. I will say this is something very academic. I really recommend to everybody, draw a lot of boxes moving in space. Keep it simple. You don't have to make it perfect. Draw a cone turning in space where you subconsciously are going to start to see these forms on your character. As I come in and I start to tie down this drawing. Right there, I'm seeing a cylinder, a break right there. I'm putting form lines around, and you do practice like that, and you're going to get better and better. Even though it's real simple what I'm doing, practice these shapes and forms. Here we got this form going off in that direction. Now we're going to make it coming out towards us. Opposite, there's a shape. Now I'm going to make it a form with these simple form lines, and now it's coming out towards us in that direction. Doing this just by habit is going to help your drawings. And then as you do more and more of these, I promise you, if you're drawing the figure, I promise you it's going to get easier and easier as time goes on.
I have to expand on what you just said. That's a good point. When I say you have to, when you do something, you learn automatically from it. I don't mean to just keep doing things mindlessly. That doesn't help. You don't advance if you're mindless about it. You've got to think about what you're doing. And if you come across a happy accident, go, what is it that makes that look cool and my other drawing doesn't look cool? You start to analyze these things, and you have to think about it and analyze it. And that's how you grow. I'm not going to name names, but there's some artists that I've grown with over the years, and they just did it mindlessly, and they weren't concentrating on trying to improve,
right? And
they never improved. And I'm like, how can you not improve after so many years? And then I'm thinking, well, because they weren't really trying, they weren't thinking about what they were doing. You got to think about it and concentrate and focus and mull it over in your mind.
Yes, you should be tired after drawing or animating. It's a
drain.
Yeah, it's a drain. There's as Mike calls it, in the zone. You got that?
Richard Williams calls it.
He's in the zone. He's
in the zone. Meaning that you're totally focused, engulfed in it. The outside world is not there.
It's gone.
And sometimes it's hard to get to that point. Sometimes you got other things in life that's distracting you. But Mike has said, what he's saying is, don't just mindlessly start putting stuff down. Have a purpose behind it. Even if you're doing this, you guys, even if you practice your lines like this, your dexterity, that I'm thinking about it. I'm not just doodling, going like this. That's a doodle. There's a purpose. If I put in a straight line like that, I'm trying to focus on making my line straight. And if you're focusing behind it, it's just like the chords. Mike plays the drums. He tears them up. I sit there and I think, how could you possibly ever get to that point? Because he told me
a lot of years of frustration and struggle.
Yeah, just practice. But practice with intent.
Yes.
I hope that answers.
It's like you've got to have a goal. Like, for example, when I saw the movie Pinocchio, and I wasn't a big Disney fan when I was a kid. I was more of a Warner Brothers cartoon fan. But when I look at something like Pinocchio, I'd say, I want to be able to animate like that. That's amazing work. And so it gave me a goal to work towards. I'm still working towards that goal. I don't animate like, milk collar Freddie Moore and Pinocchio. I mean, I don't know anybody who does. It's got a certain quality to it. But you can't get exactly the same because they did it their way. But
exactly,
you could get to that level.
You just aspire to get to that level. Thank God. If you didn't have these people to try to reach up to,
right.
For me there'd be no point. I used to do auto body work on cars. There's a certain level you reach and you can't go past. It's just the way it is. I'm not putting it down, but in the arts you can always get better.
Yeah.
And I'm just going to give you this advice. Mike was my witness. When we were younger, I'd get really frustrated just thinking, gotta be up to this. And it was a mistake. You just enjoy the process of challenging yourself, and you will get better and better.
Yeah, instead of focusing on the frustration, I focus on the wonderment of the learning process. I love to learn. It's just never ending, and I thoroughly enjoy it. It's not always easy, but hey, there's anything else in life, right?
Yeah, nothing is.
Let's take one more question. This is from Art World. It said, "Sir, I am working as an animator, but I want to improve more. What should I do for this?"
Oh, that's the one we just answered.
Yeah, that's what we just answered.
We just answered that.
Yeah.
Okay. Did that... Draw.
But with intent, not just mindless drawing.
Let me see.
You gotta think about it.
That was Art World, and in my office there are people here who experience but still base level. Okay. How do we keep motivating ourselves? How do we keep motivating ourselves? Love what you do.
Look for inspiration. That motivates me.
Yeah, look for inspiration. Like we said, like I like Instagram. I get to see new artists on there. I also, students inspire me.
Yeah.
Am I allowed to mention your film, Judy?
Yeah, you can.
Okay, like I help Judy out in sections. She's blowing my mind when she's the work she's done so far, and it's just like I keep thinking she's got a lot of work to do, and then next time I see it, it's very inspiring to see that she understands what I'm saying and she gets so much footage done. That's inspiration for me. If I go on YouTube and I watch a documentary on Jackson Pollock, I know a lot of people don't like that art, but if I watch that, that's inspiring for me. It's whatever inspires you, whatever, warms your heart. That's
why you've got to open your horizons to include as much as you can, all the different things, because you don't know what's going to inspire you until you discover it and you start looking around.
Right.
Some people get blown away and they get totally inspired by anime stuff, the Japanese anime,
exactly,
which rightly so. It's amazing. In fact, there was a girl in my animation class at Brandeis who was really into anime back in the early 80s when it was just starting to come over here. And one of the guest lecturers that was in the class said, that stuff's crap, don't pay attention to that. And it totally shattered her world, because that's what inspired her. And it shattered her world so bad that she never showed up to class again, and I never saw her in the business ever. She just disappeared from the world. I was like, she could have been a great anime artist. She loved Japanese animation. It was her whole life.
Mike also brings up a real good point. You know, there's going to be people that will bring you down. You ignore them.
Yeah, don't pay attention.
Yeah, there will be people you don't know why they're going to say something rude or, just to put you down. You don't know if they're doing it because they don't like you personally or they're in a bad mood. And
could be anything.
You just try to ignore that stuff. Remember, your art is yours. No one can take that away from you. And don't let anybody ever take it away from you.
Yeah, and another thing that might help inspire you is to think back of what got you interested in art or animation in the first place, and then look back at that, because that was the initial spark that got you going. That could reignite a flame, a passion that you started. And if you feel yourself kind of waning, that might do it. That might help you get back on track.
Oh, here's a story for you guys. When I first met Mike, I was so into Disney. I was so...
You freak! No.
Disney or die. That was sort of my feeling about it. And then when Mike we started getting to know each other, and I'd seen these UPA films, but I'd forgotten about them. And back then, that was probably like 84 or 5.
Yeah.
Mike got me all fired up on UPA because Mike would do these drawings in a UPA style, and it was like, I'd forgotten. I closed myself off from other expressions, other styles. And anyway, I always remembered that.
Oh, buddy,
thanks, Rico.
You're welcome, man. I'll return the favor in a second here, but I want to mention that UPA stands for United Productions of America. It's an old 1950s, 40s animation studio they went off in a different direction than the traditional stuff. Anyway, and also I have to thank Rico here because he's inspired me with all this fine art stuff. He's a huge student of fine art, and we've had endless hours of late night discussions about all these different artists and stuff, and he's opened my eyes to all this stuff that's just mind blowing. The Impressionists, the abstract expressionists, the expressionists. Everything, Baroque, classical, Renaissance.
Yeah, and now we talk about modernism, just postmodernism. Keep your eyes open to everything, even if you don't like it in the beginning. You never know. It might turn out to be really inspiring one day. Yeah.
Or it might repulse you into a direction that you needed to go in anyway.
Yeah. Yeah. It's all just about the arts, and animation is just as much a fine art as the Sistine Chapel.
Absolutely.
That's the only problem is one day it will be recognized with these draftsmen that have come through the animation industry.
Yeah.
These people draw out of their heads. They're not just, they don't have a reference. And you got someone like a Milk Call. Go ahead.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
You just reminded me of another thing. There was a guy that we worked with. I don't know if you worked with him, but I worked with him for years at Filmation, Umberto de la Fuente. And this kid was like 18, 19 years old when he came to the Brandon's Art Institute. He could draw circles around everybody. And I asked him, we became friends. I asked him, I said, how did you learn to draw so well? And he says, I just copy comic books all day. I love comics. I love comic book art. Which is great draftsmanship because it's all these human figures and all these extreme different angles, right? Tough angles to draw. And he just learned. He taught himself by copying that stuff because he loved it. He was so into it. Follow your heart, follow your passion. Do whatever inspires you. And that just worked great for him.
Yeah. It's, just try everything.
Yeah. It was really good.
Okay. Should we wind it down now? Let's see. How to improve our drawing. Speed for animation. It comes with time. You'll get faster and faster. That's all I could tell you.
Eric Goldberg said the more you do it, the faster you get at it.
Yes, definitely.
It's just going over and over. Dale Bear told me one time, I asked him, how'd you get to be so fast? And he said, well, I focused on getting faster because of the schedules, that we had to meet. So I pushed myself. You got to push yourself. You can't just relax with it.
That is the thing about once you get into the studios. Yeah. There'll be moments where you got more time, other moments when they needed it yesterday, and you just gotta. It pushes you, and you'll be surprised. Wow, I'm surprised I was able to pull that off, and you will be able to pull it off.
Yeah, if somebody told me I had to do a clean assistant drawing in 1 hour, like a Filmation, a drawing an hour, I'm like, I can't do that, but we pushed ourselves and we did it. We were able to accomplish it. But that's at work. When you're at home, you're doing your own pace. You got to go at your own pace and learn.
Yeah.
Don't kill yourself there.
Yeah, don't kill yourself there. That's where you're learning, and you're going to learn also on the job too.
Absolutely, every day.
You learn a ton. Look, when I went over to the Klasky Shupo, they did the Rugrats movie. I learned more working on that film than I did when I was over at Disney. It was just the artists were more open to. It was just. I'll leave that one alone.
I got something to say. No comment.
You guys watch.
No comment.
Did you guys watch any Indian animation? I have not.
I don't think I've seen much of that. I didn't even know they had I know they have a whole thing movement going on now. But is there any stuff from the olden days? Or?
Not that I know of.
I've seen very little over the years.
All right. Let's close it up.
All right.
Okay. All right, you guys. Thank you very much for joining us.
Yes.
Hope you had a good time.
Thanks to everybody out there for tuning in.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you very much. And
not next weekend, but the weekend after that.
The weekend after that will be the Rico Rico show. And then the week after, next week, it will be one-on-one animation. Maybe I'll let him in.
I got my shot. That's why we can sit in the same room now. We both got the shot. So
thank you very much for tuning in. Bye-bye, you guys.
Adios.
Adios.
Take care.
Bye-bye.
And enjoy.
Oh.